Well, hey mamas, Jessica Coulter here. We are continuing the discussion about your teen failing a class, possibly multiple classes. Today's focus is that game plan, that what do we do, that kind of attack. So we're talking about this to help you create this plan of attack if it's needed or unfortunately when it's needed. So let me know down below in the comments. What kind of system do you use? How do you and your teen have this discussion to decide what do we do when things don't go like they should when it comes to grades, or maybe even how you want them to go? And before we get going too much further, as you're answering the question, do you know there's an awesome freebie for you in the description, but be sure to grab that after the video. So I want to share my thoughts here, the way that I would encourage you and your team to have this discussion to really create this attack and figure out, okay, how do we make these next several weeks of school the best possible? How do we recover some of these grades? So that way, once we get caught up, now we can focus on, okay, what went wrong? And maybe, okay, how can I help you love to learn so we're not in this position again? Let's focus on this game plan. So number one thing here is we really have to decide what's missing. Okay, because yesterday we focused on one class. So definitely if you missed yesterday's video, you know we want your teen and we want you mamas, your teen is focused on one class that's failing, especially if there's multiple going on, just one. And once we have that one class, we need to know, okay, what's actually due. So things that are past due, things that are coming up. Okay, now I know there's a lot of people out there that are anti-to-do lists. A visual learner, and it works really well for kinesthetic learners. It can even work really well for auditory learners if we're talking as we do this. But we really need to just make a list of everything that's past due with some due dates. So like if the teacher has said, I will give you 50% up till this point, or you'll get, full credit up to this point. We need all that information. So essentially 4 different columns. Okay, past due with due dates, this week, next week, this month, and then if you've got a kiddo that has school through June, we're going to be doing this for June and May and the past. Okay, so really we need to get as much information together as possible. That's like step number 1, is to do some information gathering. Okay, because if we don't know what needs to be done, we can't begin to prioritize. Okay, so once we've looked at emails from the teachers, we've gone into Google Classroom, we've gone to Schoology, we've gotten all these due dates. Maybe we've looked at like the missing assignments online, like on the grade book, Definitely put that information together. This should not be something you do, mamas. This should be something your teen does. But if that's not where your teen's at, maybe you've got a middle schooler, maybe you've got a college kiddo that just doesn't care, this is something to do together. Okay, put the list together. And once we have the list together of what's missing, what's causing the grade to be the way it is, then we can start to prioritize. Okay, we have to decide what is going to bring up this grade the fastest. Now, me as a study skills tutor, I want your teen to do all the assignments. I want your teen to learn as much as possible. But if we're talking like a couple weeks left of school, we're in a hustle, then the question becomes, okay, what can your team do to make the grade the best? Is there a big project that we need to do? Is there something that was a sort of easy assignment and you just blew it off? Okay, look for those big point assignments. There's probably several little things. Teachers like to try to give practice, but on your teen's grade level and the teacher, that those like 5-point assignments, even sometimes those 10-point assignments, we don't care about them if all we're trying to do is get that grade up as fast as possible in as limited amount of time as possible. I want you to keep this in your mind, and I want your teen to know this too. Partial credit is better than no credit. So if your teen doesn't have time to perfect a big assignment, like a 50-point assignment or 100-point project, we still want to turn it in with at least something done, because it was worth 50 points. Well, half points is like 20, 30 points, which is so much better than getting partial credit on like a 10-point assignment. 10-point assignment, partial credit might be 1 or 2 points, whereas partial credit on a 50-point assignment, like I said, might be 20, 30 points. So big difference, and it boosts the grade a lot faster if we focus on the big point assignments. Okay, so a couple more thoughts I want to share with you on creating this kind of attack plan, this game plan to get your teen's grades up before the end of the school year, especially if we're failing. Before I do, I want to say thanks for watching here on YouTube. Thanks for watching on Facebook. I'm Jessica Coulter, CEO and founder of A Sticky Tutoring and Study with Jessie. If you haven't followed, if you haven't subscribed, really encourage you to do so, because there's going to be all sorts of amazing content coming your way later this week about this very topic, let alone other things related to teens and school and learning. And I don't want you to miss out, because I hope teens love to learn through study skills. And it all comes down to, does your teen know how to learn? And that's kind of a hit for tomorrow's video, why teens fail in the first place. But let's talk about this game plan some more. So I've got the list going. We started looking and see, okay, is this worth this many points? Should I do this first? Should I do that first? You know, what does your teen actually need to focus on in that one class? Because remember, we're talking about one class to start with, okay? Because if your teen only has one big project missing in a class, and it's the reason his grade is, well, okay, we know exactly what to do. But if we have a class with like 20, 30 missing assignments, which has happened, believe me, well, then we have to figure out, okay, what do we start on? You know, what's important of this 20, 30 list? Okay? So, one of the last things I want to say here, once we've got it figured out of what's missing, when things are due, and then what are the big pointers, well, the other thing is, have we explored all of our options? Okay, because there could be a teacher that provides extra credit. There could be a teacher that lets things be done differently. You know, maybe you missed out on the assignment I provided, but if you create your own assignment or an alternative assignment, or this is what students who have been absent do, the teacher has those answers. So mamas, we want your teens to ask, to self-advocate, to find out what is it that I can do. Now, if your teen's blown off everything up to this point and like every single assignment possible is missing, teachers probably aren't going to be very willing to help your teen. Not going to be very, what's the word, not sentimental, but very, I'm trying to think of the word, but just basically aren't going to be very willing. The other big thing to think about, especially as we get close to the end of the school year, if that's and this is a situation you find yourself in or your teen finds himself in, is this. But I encourage you to think about the school policy. I've mentioned this in other videos, but you need to know and your teen needs to know, does the school care more about homework or does the school care more about tests? Because if your child's grades are weighted way more than 50% towards tests, your child's grades never going to go up if those test grades don't come up. Okay, so again, this is where that self-advocating comes in. Maybe your teen can ask and see, is there a test retake policy that I can use, take advantage of? Or maybe your teen has like one more chance, like one more final. And again, maybe your teen talks to the teacher. The teacher's like, okay, you know, this is how many points. Homework, a juggling game. You need this many points of homework, this many points for percentage for the final for the test grade. So definitely do know, mamas, it is possible to create a game plan. It is possible to create kind of this plan of attack, but do know it does take strategy. It does take really finding out how many points, how many days, what classes, what class, and really, okay, what does my teen need to do? What can he do? So definitely do know this is not the perfect option when it comes to what can my teen do to do well at school. We don't want your teen to be in these situations when it comes to failing, but it happens. So I'm here to help. If you've got questions, drop them below. And do know, if you need help getting your teen to do their homework, to bust through your child's homework objections, go to the link in my bio and grab my Homework Buster. 5 tips to bust through your teen's homework objections. And I gotta tell you, once your teen sees that learning can be fun, can be enjoyable, and can actually even be easy, homework, school becomes much less of a hassle for you and for your teen. So thanks for watching. Have a good night and see you in tomorrow's video. Bye, mamas.